My friend, have you ever stood in a moment so broken, so crushed under the weight of life, that your soul cried out in silence while your lips couldn't even form the words? Have you ever laid awake in the stillness of the night, staring into the darkness, not just around you, but inside you? Have you ever felt like your strength has dried up, your hope scattered to the winds, and your very identity lost in the storm? If you're there now, or if you've ever been there, then I want you to lean in with every breath in your body, because what you're about to hear is not a speech, not a motivational chant, but a call to breakthrough, a divine summons to restoration through the power of prayer. Not any prayer, but the kind that shakes the gates of heaven and brings fire down into the soul. The breakthrough prayer for total restoration. God does not leave his people in ruins. He does not abandon what he created in love. You may feel forsaken, you may feel forgotten, but the truth, the eternal, unchanging truth, is that God restores. He brings dead things back to life. He rebuilds what was torn down. He revives what was crushed. And he does it in ways that defy logic, stretch understanding, and shatter limitations. But listen to me now, restoration is not automatic. Restoration is born through prayer. Not empty words, not ritual repetitions, but soul-burning, mountain-moving, heaven-touching prayer. It is in that sacred space where your tears become your language, your pain becomes your offering, and your faith becomes your weapon. There is a type of prayer that causes God to move. There is a cry that echoes so deep, it stirs the heavens. And when that kind of prayer is born from the womb of desperation and trust, God responds. Not because he is far away needing to be convinced, but because prayer aligns your spirit with his power. Restoration begins not with your plans, not with your strength, but on your knees. You want a breakthrough? Then you must learn how to pray like your life depends on it, because it does. Let me tell you the truth, my friend, many cry out for blessings, but few cry out for God. Many chase the gift, but ignore the giver. Restoration is not just getting your stuff back, it's getting your spirit back. It's when God picks up the shattered pieces of your soul and makes something stronger than what existed before. But you must go to him not with entitlement, but with surrender, not with demands, but with devotion. The breakthrough prayer is not a shopping list, it is a spiritual war cry. It is when your heart says, God, I am not letting go until you move. I am not giving up until you answer. God listens to the brokenhearted. He sees the crushed in spirit. He knows the weight you carry, the disappointments you've buried, the nights you've cried yourself to sleep. And he is not indifferent. He is not silent. He is not slow. He is strategic. He is precise. And he is faithful. But he moves in response to faith-filled prayer, the kind of prayer that tears through the noise of this world, the kind of prayer that shuts out fear, silences doubt, and declares, God, I know you still have a plan for me. You must stop praying weak prayers if you want strong restoration. This is not the time for passive petitions. This is the moment for bold declarations. For prayers that come from the depths of your spirit. You've got to learn how to pray when everything inside you wants to quit. Pray when your heart is numb. Pray when the answers are delayed. Pray when your enemies mock you. Pray when your family walks away. Pray when your own mind betrays you. Because every time you pray, you are building an altar before God. Every cry, every tear, every groan in the secret place, it is not wasted. God does not forget those who seek him with all their heart. Your breakthrough is not in a person. It's not in a job. It's not in the applause of this world. It's in the presence of God. There is healing in that presence. There is clarity. There is strength. There is a rebirth of identity, and you access it not by wishing, but by warring. Breakthrough prayer is warfare. It is the sound of the Spirit resisting everything that tries to hold you back. It is the roar of faith rising from the ashes of defeat. It is your soul refusing to die in the desert. Don't let your current condition blind you to your divine position. You may be in the fire, but you are not consumed. You may be in the valley, but you are not buried. God allows some seasons to strip you, not to destroy you, but to rebuild you with greater glory. But you must pray your way through. You must intercede until the walls fall. You must fast if you have to, cry if you must, but don't stop praying. Don't stop knocking. Don't stop believing, because the day is coming. Yes, the hour is near when God will say enough. And when He speaks restoration into your situation, no devil in hell can stop it. You see, the breakthrough prayer is not just about what you say, it's about what you believe while you say it. It's about praying as if the answer is already moving in your direction. It's about lifting your voice with such faith that even your enemies begin to tremble. God responds to faith, not perfection, not performance. Faith, even if it's trembling faith, even if it's just enough to whisper, God, help me. That's enough to part seas. That's enough to shake chains off your life. That's enough to raise what was dead. Some of you are praying from broken marriages. Some of you are praying from hospital beds. Some of you are praying from prison cells, literal or emotional. But I declare to you, God restores. God revives. God resurrects. God brings back what you thought was gone forever. But you must call on Him with all that you are. You must pray like someone drowning reaching for the lifeline. You must lay it all at His feet, your fears, your shame, your secrets, your dreams, and say, God, only you can rebuild me. Only you can restore what I've lost. Total restoration is not partial healing. It's not just fixing what was broken. It's making it better than it was before. God doesn't just give you back what was stolen. He multiplies it. He doesn't just restore your years. He redeems them. He turns your pain into power, your sorrow into strength, your wilderness into a wellspring. But it begins when you shift from casual prayer to desperate, relentless prayer, from speaking to crying out, from asking to declaring. Because when your voice rises in raw truth before God, His power falls in divine response. Your breakthrough prayer will often be forged in the fire. It will not be easy. It may be birthed in sleepless nights and lonely hours, but keep going. Keep praying. Keep pressing. Because when you pray like that, the atmosphere begins to shift. Things start moving in the unseen realm. God dispatches His power where there was once only despair. The moment you pray with faith, restoration is set in motion. You may not see it immediately, but trust God is working. God is restoring. And in due season, your weeping will turn to dancing. Don't you ever let the devil convince you that it's over. Don't you let disappointment drown out your voice. You may have been delayed, but you have not been denied, and that delay has been divine. Because God is setting you up for a restoration so complete, so undeniable, that people will marvel, not at you, but at what God has done in you. But you must remain at the altar. You must keep the fire burning. You must not retreat. You must not be silenced. The enemy fears a praying soul, because prayer unlocks power, and power brings restoration. There will be a time, a moment, when everything changes. When the prayer you prayed in secret becomes the testimony you shout in public. When the God you sought in the storm becomes the glory you carry in the sunlight. But it doesn't start with people. It doesn't start with opportunity. It starts with prayer. If you want to see total restoration, spirit, mind, heart, body, then commit yourself to a life of breakthrough prayer. Not just once, but daily. Not just in crisis, but in communion. And as you do, you will see the hand of God move in ways you never imagined. You are not too far gone. You are not too broken. You are not beyond repair. The same power that created the heavens hears your whisper. The same God who holds the galaxies bends down to listen when you pray. So stop doubting. Stop running. Stop delaying. Get on your knees, lift your voice, open your heart, cry out for restoration, and believe, truly believe, that God hears, that God answers, that God restores. You may have lost time, but God can restore it. You may have lost relationships, but God can heal them. You may have lost direction, but God can guide you. You may have lost yourself, but God can bring you back to life. But you must ask, you must seek, you must knock, and you must not give up. This is the hour for breakthrough prayer. This is the season of total restoration, not by your might, not by your knowledge, but by the Spirit of God moving in response to your prayer. So don't wait, don't hesitate, don't let the past define your future. Begin now. Pray like the heavens are listening, because they are. Pray like your breakthrough depends on it, because it does. And as you do, watch what God will restore. There is a place in the heart of prayer where words end and the Spirit begins to speak. A place where your soul bows even lower than your knees. That is where restoration begins, not in the noise of public declarations, but in the stillness of surrender before God. When you reach that sacred silence where your desires dissolve and only the will of God matters, you will find breakthrough waiting for you. Restoration is not about returning to who you were, but becoming who God intended you to be all along. And the path to that becoming is paved with trust, obedience, and raw, unfiltered prayer. God sees beyond the broken pieces you hold in your hands. While you're focused on what you lost, God is focused on what He's about to build. He does not rebuild using the rubble of your past. He creates anew. He uses loss to position you, pain to prepare you, and prayer to propel you. That is why your breakthrough prayer must not be limited by your understanding. It must rise above your emotions, above your reasoning, and reach into the unseen realm where faith is your only anchor. You must learn to pray past your feelings and into your future. The kind of prayer that touches God's throne is not the prayer of comfort. It is the prayer of consistency. It is the prayer you pray when you don't feel like praying. It's when you show up anyway, when your voice is trembling but you still speak, when your heart is aching but you still believe. That is where divine restoration begins. Not when everything is calm, but when the storm is raging and you cry out, God, I trust you even here. That trust is the seed from which your breakthrough will grow. And hear me when I tell you this, restoration is never without resistance. The moment you begin to rise in prayer, distractions will increase, opposition will multiply, and the enemy will whisper that your efforts are wasted. But don't be deceived. The battle intensifies not because you're failing, but because you're close to breaking through. When your prayer begins to shake foundations, the forces that want to keep you bound will tremble. Do not retreat. Do not silence your voice. Keep pressing in, because the very resistance is proof that restoration is near. God responds to those who persist, not those who perform, but those who pursue. The breakthrough prayer for total restoration is not a one-time act. It is a lifestyle of communion with God. It's walking with Him in the garden of your trials. It's talking with Him in the heat of your tests. It's leaning on Him when the road is unclear. You must understand, God is not just interested in restoring what's around you. He is committed to restoring what's within you. Your peace, your clarity, your courage, your purpose. Sometimes God will strip away everything just to rebuild your foundation, because He knows that without a solid inner life, no outer restoration can stand. That is why your prayers must go deeper than outcomes. Ask for transformation, not just solutions. Ask for wisdom, not just rescue. Ask for alignment, not just advancement. Because once your soul is right before God, everything else will follow. The breakthrough you seek on the outside must first be activated on the inside, and only God can do that in you through prayer. There is a sacred shift that happens when you stop praying for survival and start praying for destiny. When you stop saying, God, get me out, and start saying, God, get me through, make me stronger, wiser, unshakable. That is the prayer that heaven answers. That is the prayer that brings restoration that cannot be taken away again. Because God doesn't just restore your circumstances, He restores your authority, your discernment, your resilience, your joy. Do not envy the progress of others. Do not compare your restoration to someone else's blessing. What God is doing in you is tailor-made. He knows what had to be broken for you to finally turn to Him He knows what had to be lost so you would stop clinging to false security. Trust that even in your lowest place, God was planning a comeback that would silence every doubt, every voice of shame, every enemy that tried to bury you. And when He brings you out, you'll know it was Him alone who did it. Do not rush the process. Restoration requires patience. It may take time, but every moment spent in faithful prayer is building a foundation that cannot be moved. Others may not see it. They may wonder why you're still praying, still waiting, still believing. But let them talk. Because when God restores you, even your enemies will witness it, and the restoration will speak louder than your defense ever could. Your breakthrough is coming. But don't just wait for it, pray it into existence. Wake up with prayer. Walk in prayer. Go to sleep in prayer. Not religiously, but relationally. Talk to God about everything. Bring Him your grief, your questions, your failures, your dreams. Hold nothing back, because God is not afraid of your honesty. He desires your heart more than your performance. And when your heart is laid bare before Him, His hand will begin to move with unstoppable power. There will be a moment, and you'll know it, when the weight lifts, when the silence breaks, when what you prayed for begins to manifest. But even then, don't stop praying, because the same prayer that brought you to the breakthrough will sustain you through the blessing. Restoration is not a one-time event. It is a continual journey, and every step of it must be covered in prayer, guided by trust, and anchored in God. Some of you are praying for your children to return. Some of you are praying for your health to be restored. Some of you are praying for the burden of regret to be lifted. Let me tell you, God hears. He has not turned His face away. He is near to the brokenhearted. He bottles your tears. He records your cries. And He answers in ways that exceed your understanding. But you must keep knocking. You must keep seeking. You must keep holding on even when it feels like nothing is happening. Because something is happening. In the silence, God is setting things in motion. In the waiting, He is purifying your motives. In the delay, He is strengthening your faith. Don't misinterpret the quiet. Restoration grows in silence before it shouts in the open. And when the time is right, when your spirit is ready, when the vessel is prepared, God will release it. The breakthrough, the healing, the turnaround. And it will be total, not partial, not halfway, but complete, divine, undeniable restoration. Do not underestimate the power of one prayer prayed with faith. God doesn't require a multitude of words. He looks at the posture of the heart. He responds to sincerity. Cry out to Him, not just with your lips, but with your life. Let your every move be an act of worship. Let your pain become your prayer. Let your waiting become your offering. Because when God sees a life fully surrendered, He unleashes favor that cannot be contained. And remember this, God's restoration often comes in a way you didn't expect. It might not look like what you prayed for, but it will be what you needed. Trust that His ways are higher. His thoughts are deeper. His timing is perfect. You don't have to understand the path, you just have to trust the one who leads. And if you hold on to that trust, if you keep walking by faith and not by sight, you will look back one day and see that every tear, every delay, every unanswered question was preparing you for something greater than you imagined. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not overlooked. God is writing a restoration story with your life that will touch others, heal wounds, break generational cycles, and bring glory to His name. But it begins with you alone in prayer, laying everything at His feet. Not once, not twice, but every day, faithfully, relentlessly, passionately. When the soul has been shattered, when life has left its scars deep within you, and when the world moves on as if nothing has happened, there is one place you must turn, into the presence of God, not the fleeting comforts of men, not the shallow approval of crowds, not the temporary escape of distraction, but to the one who formed you in silence, who sees what no one else sees, and who restores not just what is broken, but what was lost before you even knew it. God is not bound by time. He is not limited by circumstance. What has taken years to fall apart, God can rebuild in a single moment, but you must cry out to Him with your entire being. Restoration begins the moment your spirit refuses to settle for what is and begins to yearn for what God wills. There is no restoration without divine alignment. You cannot be restored while clinging to the very things that broke you. You cannot be restored while walking in rebellion, while harboring bitterness, while living in fear. The breakthrough prayer is a refining prayer. It strips you of excuses, cleanses you of pride, and places you in complete submission to the will of God. It is not a negotiation, it is a surrender, and in that surrender, power flows. Many want restoration without refinement. They want the blessing but reject the process. But God, in His mercy, will not place holy things into unprepared hands. He will wait. He will stretch. He will test. Not because He wants to harm you, but because He is preparing you for what is greater. Do not despise the process. The deeper the restoration, the deeper the pruning. God is not patching you up. He is remaking you. He is restoring your soul from the inside out. And that kind of restoration requires a heart that says, God, not my way, not my timing, yours alone. There are some things that can only be birthed in the fire. There are some prayers that can only be prayed from the pit. And there are some victories that can only be won through the cry of a desperate heart that says, I have no one else but God. That is where power is found. That is where mountains move. That is where chains break, not because of your strength, but because your dependence on God has become absolute. God responds when all your options are exhausted and your hope is placed entirely in Him. Let this be clear. Restoration is not about going back to who you were before the pain. It's about rising into who God has always intended you to be. Pain strips away illusion. Loss exposes the soul. And when you bring that naked honesty before God, He covers you not in shame, but in strength. He clothes you not in regret, but in wisdom. God does not use your past against you. He uses it as the foundation for something new, something pure, something stronger than before. But it begins in the secret place, where only your voice and His presence remain. Do not be deceived by outward appearances. Just because someone seems whole on the outside does not mean they are restored within. Restoration is a divine work. It cannot be imitated. It cannot be rushed. It is born through consistent prayer and faithful obedience. It is sustained by walking daily in the light of God, trusting Him not only for the miracle, but for the mundane moments in between. True restoration is peace that cannot be shaken, even when storms return. It is clarity that remains even when chaos surrounds. It is a stillness inside you that testifies, God has done this work. There are prayers that God answers in whispers, and there are prayers that He answers with fire. The breakthrough prayer demands fire, not destruction, but purification. It demands that everything in you be laid bare, that your agenda dies and His will take center stage. This prayer doesn't just touch your situation, it transforms your character. God is not interested in quick fixes. He is interested in eternal change. You may be praying for a door to open, but God is working on the person who will walk through it. And when the restoration begins, you will not recognize yourself, because when God restores, He doesn't give you back what you had, He gives you what you need. He refines your desires. He sharpens your focus. He removes relationships that were killing your spirit. He closes doors that were never meant for you. And yes, sometimes the greatest act of restoration is not giving you what you lost, but freeing you from needing it at all. Sometimes the most powerful healing is not in what comes back, but in what you no longer crave. You must stop measuring your healing by what others can see. God's restoration is often quiet, internal, sacred. It begins in the hidden places. You might still be walking through the valley, but inside your roots are growing deep. You might still be weeping at night, but God is reordering your soul for joy that will last. And while people are waiting to see visible change, God is crafting invisible strength. Let them talk. let them doubt, you stay in the place of prayer. Because the reward is not their approval, it's God's favor. Restoration means walking again in purpose. It means your voice returns, your vision returns, your fire returns, not to impress others, but to fulfill what you were born for. And you will know it is God's work when the peace you carry outweighs the possessions you have. You'll know it is God's restoration when your joy is rooted in obedience, not outcomes. When your strength is found in silence, not applause. This is the restoration that endures. This is the fruit of breakthrough prayer. God is not a God of fragments. He does not leave you halfway. If you will surrender everything to Him in prayer, your wounds, your memories, your reputation, your expectations, He will not only rebuild you, He will establish you. He will plant you in a place where your roots will not be shaken again, but you must stay committed to the secret place. You must stop looking for quick comfort and start seeking lasting transformation. Prayer is not your last resort, it is your lifeline. Hold it tightly. Make it the first breath of your morning and the final whisper of your night. And remember, restoration is not just for your sake, it is for those you will touch. The people who will see your story and find hope, the generations who will rise because you stood your ground in prayer. You are not just fighting for your own healing, you are contending for every life connected to yours. God is raising up restorers, people who have been broken, healed, and now carry the authority to bring others through the fire. But it all begins on your knees. It all begins with one cry, God, I need you. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for the pain to pass. Begin now. Pray like your future depends on it, because it does. God is ready to restore what the years have stolen. God is ready to renew what disappointment has buried. God is ready to rebuild what you thought could never rise again. But He's waiting for your voice. He's waiting for your surrender. And when you give it, when you offer it without conditions or hesitation, God will answer with power that no one can deny. Breakthrough is not an event. It is a lifestyle, a continual posture of dependence on God, a relentless return to His presence, a daily choice to believe that His power is greater than your pain and His promise stronger than your past. Restoration begins in that choice. And once you choose it, hold fast, because the breakthrough is not a myth. It is a reality that belongs to those who refuse to stop praying, refuse to stop believing, and refuse to let go of the God who restores all things. When God begins to restore, He does not simply repair the surface. He reconstructs from the root. That is why your restoration may feel slow, even painful at times, because God is digging deep. He is unearthing what has been buried, exposing what has been ignored, and confronting what has been suppressed. He does not heal symptoms. He heals the source. And while the world may offer temporary fixes to ease the discomfort, only God has the power to touch the hidden places of your spirit and speak life where there was once only survival. Restoration is not for the passive. It is for those who refuse to settle. It is for those who say, I will not die in this wilderness. I will not remain in this brokenness. I will not let this be the end of my story. That kind of boldness is not arrogance. It is trust in God. It is the belief that what God has spoken over your life is greater than what life has tried to take from you. And when that fire ignites in your soul, your prayer life changes. You stop praying for escape and start praying for endurance. You stop asking why and start declaring, let God's will be done in me. Fully, completely, and without delay. There is a kind of restoration that humbles you. Not because you have lost, but because you've witnessed the mercy of God in your lowest state. It breaks your pride. It softens your heart. It reminds you that you did not earn the turnaround. God gave it to you. And that awareness transforms the way you walk. You no longer strive for validation from others. You no longer cling to the applause of the world. You walk with quiet strength because you know the one who restored you is greater than anything this world can offer. But listen closely. If you truly want restoration, you must release control. God will not restore what you continue to manipulate. He will not fill hands that refuse to let go. Some of you are still holding on to what hurt you, still replaying what broke you, still chasing the approval that was never meant to define you. But God says, lay it down. Trust me with it. Because until you release it, you cannot receive what's next. Restoration requires relinquishment. You must trade the ashes for beauty, but you cannot do that while clinging to the fire that burned you. Breakthrough prayer is dangerous prayer. It disrupts the ordinary. It dismantles comfort. It shakes you from passivity. Because the moment you pray for full restoration, you are inviting God to remove every false foundation in your life, every relationship that cannot go with you, every thought pattern that has kept you in bondage, every habit that has delayed your destiny. And though it may feel like loss, it is gain. Though it may feel like chaos, it is divine order. God clears out the lesser to make room for the greater. He tears down what was temporary so He can establish what is eternal. There are times God will allow you to be emptied before He fills you. Don't mistake the emptiness for abandonment. Sometimes the silence is a sign that God is preparing something sacred. He is drawing you away from noise so that you can hear the whisper of His guidance. And in that place of solitude, your spirit becomes sensitive again. You begin to hear His direction more clearly. Your appetite for distraction fades, and your longing for truth intensifies. That is where restoration takes root, not in the noise, but in the nearness of God. And when you are truly restored, the evidence is not just in what you gain, but in who you become. You begin to carry peace that cannot be provoked. You begin to speak with authority that doesn't come from titles or recognition, but from time spent in the presence of God. You walk with a confidence that comes from knowing who holds your future, even when your path is unclear. This is the fruit of breakthrough prayer. Not just answers, but transformation. Not just recovery, but rebirth. Do not fear the waiting. Do not resist the wilderness. Because some of the deepest restorations happen in seasons where nothing seems to move. In those quiet days when you feel forgotten, misunderstood, and isolated, God is working. He is building strength in your spirit. He is developing endurance in your soul. He is enlarging your capacity for greater. What looks like delay is often divine construction. So lift your head, dry your tears, and continue to pray. Because the silence does not mean denial. It means preparation. Let God rewrite your story. Let Him redefine your worth. Let Him reset your focus. Because when God restores, He removes what the enemy tried to attach to your name. Shame, fear, rejection, despair, He breaks them off. He doesn't just patch the wound, He replaces the scar with wisdom. You don't just walk out healed, you walk out empowered. That is why the enemy fought you so hard. Because your restoration will be a testimony that ripples beyond your life. It will restore others. It will set captives free. And it will glorify God in ways your pain never could. Every setback is an opportunity for a setup. Every valley is an invitation to deeper vision. Every loss is a seed that God can use to grow something supernatural. But you must bring it to Him in prayer, unfiltered, unmasked, unafraid. Cry out to Him. Speak to Him when the words don't come out perfect. He's not looking for performance. He's waiting for honesty. That kind of prayer moves mountains. It splits the heavens. It shifts the atmosphere. It invites divine intervention. And know this, no place is too dark for God to reach. No heart is too hardened. No past is too stained. No future is too far gone. One moment in the presence of God can do more than years of human effort. One whispered prayer can bring breakthrough. One surrender can change generations. But it must be real. It must come from the depths of your soul. Restoration from God is not limited to repairing what the eye can see. It reaches far beyond material loss, far beyond public shame, far beyond emotional pain. It penetrates the very core of who you are, your spirit, your essence, your soul's alignment with its divine creator. The breakthrough prayer for total restoration does not merely ask God to restore situations, It pleads for the restoration of the soul's sacred rhythm with His will. When your soul returns to its original posture before God, humbled, surrendered, and fully yielded, that is when true restoration begins to blossom like dawn after a long and bitter night. There are dimensions of restoration that only obedience can unlock. You may cry, you may fast, you may plead, and all of these are powerful, but without obedience, your prayer is hindered. You must not only call upon God, but you must follow His lead. If God calls you to release bitterness, obey. If God calls you to let go of unclean habits, obey. If God convicts your heart to walk away from what is comfortable but corrupt, obey. Because obedience is not weakness. It is the doorway to power. And the deeper your obedience, the more complete your restoration will be. Some of the most powerful restorations are the ones that happen in hidden places, where no one sees, no one claps, and no one even knows the depth of what God has done. These are the restorations that bring tears of awe when you look back and realize that what should have destroyed you only deepened your intimacy with God. This is the kind of breakthrough that the world cannot imitate and that no enemy can take credit for. When God restores you in such a way that your peace doesn't rely on circumstance, your strength doesn't rely on support, and your identity doesn't rely on approval, that is restoration in its most divine form. Many want to be restored publicly, but are unwilling to be refined privately. They want applause without purification. They want elevation without examination. But God is too wise to elevate what is not stable. That is why He uses the prayer closet to build what the platform cannot. If you're in a season of silence, a time where no one sees your labor, your tears, your discipline, rejoice. Because it means God is building something lasting. God does not invest in what He does not intend to sustain. And if He's stretching you in private, He is preparing to entrust you with something powerful in public. Your breakthrough prayer must not only be consistent, it must be precise. Too often, we pray in vague tones, hoping for general improvement. But restoration requires specific surrender. You must name the broken place. You must identify the lie you've believed. You must lay before God the exact area where you've been bleeding internally. And when you do, you will see God not only bind your wounds, but give you new vision, new strength, new purpose that rises from the very places where you once collapsed. You must also understand that God does not always restore in the way you imagine. Sometimes He removes instead of returns. Sometimes He closes the door you begged Him to open because He sees what lies beyond it. Sometimes He allows disappointment to become your deliverance, because what you thought was good was simply familiar, and God is too faithful to let you settle for less than His best. When your spirit is surrendered, you will trust that His no is protection, His silence is strategy, and His delay is preparation. True faith doesn't just accept the answer, it reveres the wisdom behind it. Let me speak plainly, the enemy fears a restored person, because once you've been through the fire and come out refined, you are no longer easily shaken. Once you've wrestled in the dark with only God as your companion, your dependency on others vanishes. Once you've been stripped of false identities and grounded in divine purpose, you walk differently. You pray with a weight that comes from surviving what others didn't see, and your restoration becomes a weapon, not just for you, but for everyone your story will touch. There will be moments when your restoration journey feels lonely. Not everyone can walk with you into the new season. Not everyone will understand your transformation. Some will resist it, others will mislabel it, but let them talk, let them walk away. When God restores, He also reveals. He shows you who truly carries your destiny in their spirit and who was only assigned to the broken version of you. Don't chase the crowd. Don't explain yourself. Focus on staying in alignment with God's hand. His presence will bring the right voices into your life at the right time. Restoration is also generational. What God is doing in you now is not just for you, it's for your children, your children's children, and the legacy they will carry. Every prayer you pray today lays a brick for the road they will walk tomorrow. Every stronghold you break is a wall they won't have to climb. Every habit you surrender becomes a testimony of power they will inherit. So when you feel weak, remember, you are fighting for a future that goes far beyond your own. And God honors those who stand in the gap for generations. God does not overlook faithfulness. He sees the unseen sacrifices, the quiet acts of obedience, the inner battles you never posted. And He is faithful to reward those who remain in pursuit of Him, even when the world offers faster routes and easier roads. Let others chase shortcuts. Your reward is not from man. It is from the hand of God, and when He chooses to release it, it will be undeniable, unstoppable, and undeniably sacred. There will come a day, mark it in your spirit, when you will rise, and everything that once looked like loss will be redefined as a setup. Every closed door will be seen as divine mercy. Every delay will be revealed as protection. Every tear will be accounted for. Every cry will echo in eternity. And you will say, not with bitterness, but with awe, God restored me better than I ever imagined, not by power, not by manipulation, but by prayer. Raw, real, fervent prayer. So if you're in the middle of your breaking, keep praying. If you're weary, keep kneeling. If you're questioning, keep seeking, because the answer you long for may be just beyond one more whisper of surrender. The shift may be waiting for one more moment of obedience, and the breakthrough may be closer than it seems. God is not finished with you, not even close. He is building something in your life that will outlast the storm, outshine the pain, and outlive the critics. And when it is complete, it will not bring you pride, it will bring God glory. Because your restoration is not just your comeback. It is your calling, it is your assignment, and it begins right now, where all true change begins in the stillness, in the surrender, in the secret power of breakthrough prayer.